Good evening, everyone. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Press, the Middletown Patch, and the Middletown Township Public School District website, and the posting of such notice at the Augustine Minor Administrative Offices and each elementary, middle, and secondary school in the district. Roll call.
Mrs. Caminetti, Mrs. Farley, Mr. Fitzgerald,
Here.
Mrs. Minuis.
Here.
Mrs. Skolasky.
Here.
Mr. Toll.
Here.
Mrs. Wright.
Here.
Mrs. Tobacco.
Here.
Mr. Capone.
Here. I now need a motion for executive session to discuss HIB and personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Be back in a little while. Good evening, everyone. We're going to stand for the pledge, but we also need, with sadness, we share that the news of the passing of former board member, Mr. Robert Bucko, and former district employee, Dr. Kathleen McNillis. Mr. Bucko passed away on November 25th, 2024. Bob served as Middletown Township Board of Ed member from May 1995 through April 2004, and held the role of board president from 1997 through 1998, and again from 2002 through 2004. Dr. Neelis passed away on November 26, 2024. Kathleen worked as a school psychologist in the district for over 20 years before retiring from High School South in 2009. On behalf of the school community, we extend our deepest condolences to the Bucko and McNeil's family. Please stand in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Hey, good evening. We're going to start off tonight with our student speakers from High School North. This is
Good evening. My name is Paige Pagan, and I'm a junior at Middletown High School North. Congratulations to our 2024-2025 Teacher of the Year, Megan Hansen, and Support Staff Member of the Year, Paraprofessional Regina Price. This honor is incredibly well-deserved, and thank you all for all you do for our school. High School North's holiday chorus and band concert, an important tradition that displays our musicians' amazing talents, will be performed on Wednesday, December 18th at 7 p.m. The North Pole, a celebratory season event in our media center, featuring arts and crafts, refreshments, and pictures with Santa, was facilitated on Saturday, December 14th. This was a well-intended and enjoyable occasion for our entire community. Our student journalists continue developing meaningful and timely articles for the Lion's Roar, our awesome online school newspaper. This digital publication highlights the incredible events and accomplishments across our campus and can be accessed through High School North's website. Our winter sports season is underway, highlighted so far by a thrilling 4-3 victory over South for our hockey team. Congrats to freshman Amelia Bays, who performed in Nutcracker Ballet at Count Basie last weekend. Great job, Amelia. Monmouth County Vocational School District presented to the entire sophomore class on December 9th, introducing them to the shared time vocational programs available to students in grades 11 and 12. The guidance department presented to the entire freshman class on December 10th, introducing them to scheduling / picking courses for 10th grade and all the academic opportunities ahead for them. Middletown High School North celebrated Holiday Spirit Week. Some highlights include donations for Middletown Helps Its Own, Ugly Sweater Day, and Elf Raid. Praise referrals were submitted for the following individuals that demonstrated kindness, compassion, respect, and leadership throughout High School North learning community for December. Those students are Gianna Santino, Ava Gonzalez, and Abigail Slattery. In previous month, the following students also received positive praise referrals: Blake Illingworth, Mikey Deeney, Destiny Billingsley, John Pedro, Logan Miller, Gabby Davino, Mark Conway, Savannah Rios, Andrew Domalewski, Brian O'Donnell, Edwin Martinez, Brielle Shakchek and Lorenzo Balinua, Casey Pistone, Evelyn Zawinski, Isabella Cherney, Madison Kolka, Natalie Treza, Lisa Rassiopi, Katie Beater, Addison Lopez, Julie Farrelly, Shane Moore, Kendra Ott, Deanna Ruffalo, Joshua Johnson, and Jessica Filego. Head of the Pride nominations are being reviewed for the month of December, and we will share those recipients when we return from break. Middletown High School North wishes our entire community a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
From High School South, Sophia Casson.
Hello, my name is Sophia Cascone, and I'm a senior at Middletown High School South. To start, Dr. Alphone's open forum with students went very well. Many students participated in the Q&A meeting. Next, winter sports season is underway. We have over 400 students participating in winter sports. Administrators held class meetings for each grade level, discussing attendance, code of conduct, cell phone, and policies and procedures. A conflict resolution assembly was presented to all freshmen by our anti-bullying specialist, Mrs. Catherine Higgins. The Tigger Foundation, sponsored by Mr. Dan Duddy, came to speak to our juniors and seniors about building an inner core to overcome life's challenges. Students were very engaged in this presentation that touched on the dangers of drinking and driving. South's chorus concert was held on December 10th. As always, Mrs. Castor and her students did a wonderful job. South's winter band concert was held on December 12th. Thank you to Mr. Ragaseo and his talented students for a most enjoyable concert. Congratulations to the 23 students that were just accepted into South chapter of the Science National Honor Society. The Mid-South academic team came in 8th place out of 30 teams at Mast Pop Culture Bowl and came in 4th place out of 36 teams at the Biotech Bowl. However, they are going back this Friday to compete in the playoffs. Lastly, Sage Levine, South's class of 2018 salutatorian, just got her first associate producer credit for Biggest Heist Ever, currently airing on Netflix. Congratulations to Sage. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Okay, this evening we're going to start with a presentation from Coleman, Frenia, and Allison. Mr. Brian Waldron will come up and do the presentation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Again, those that don't know me, my name is Brian Waldron. I'm a partner with Coleman, Frenia, and Allison. I've been working on the Middletown account now for many years, giving the presentations in the past as well. I'm just going to go over a very high-level, brief overview of the financial statements. I know your business administrator has supplied those financial statements to you in a draft form. Just to get this out of the way in the front, we are anticipating having everything wrapped up and final reports issued by the end of this week, which is one of the faster times that we've been able to do so in the past many years, predominantly as a result of information we've been waiting on from the state of New Jersey. So they're getting faster, so therefore we in return are getting faster as well. So it's nice to have this wrapped up and done before the holidays for your sakes and also for our sakes as well. So I'm going to go through this here. If there's any questions during, please stop me. If not, we can go over afterwards. The positive here is that we offer 3 opinions in our financial statement. The first and most important is our independent auditor's report. That report states that the financial statements are materially stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, the regulations and requirements set forth by the Department of Education and also government auditing standards. It's an unmodified opinion. It's the best opinion that we can render to the district. Again, so a clean, unmodified opinion, no comments or recommendations to note in that report. The second of 3 reports is our internal control report over financial reporting in accordance with government auditing standards. There's a significant amount of internal controls and compliance that needs to be reported on and completed for testing as it relates to the Department of Education and government standards. And again, for this report, we have issued an unmodified opinion. There's no instances of non-compliance to offer. So again, best opinion that we can render for that as well. And then the third of 3 is our internal control report over financial reporting over financial and major programs. Since the district receives significant funding from state and federal sources, what triggers what we call a single audit. So it's almost an additional audit that we perform to make sure that the compliance regulations with those grants that we attest are in accordance with what they need to be done. So both we had done a federal and state testing this year, tested many grants. I think there was 5 or 6 in total between the 2. And again, no instances of non-compliance to report as far as the financial reporting goes. So a clean, unmodified opinion as well. So 3 opinions, 3 clean, unmodified opinions, the best opinions that we can get to the district. So hats off to the Board of Education and to the business team, for a great job. As far as our reporting goes, on the operating statement, our general fund, which is really where we operate all of our expenditures and revenues. We had roughly about a 1.5% increase in total revenues during 2024, compared to roughly a 4.5% increase of our expenditures. While there's obviously a decrease in that, we would like to obviously oversee revenues over the expenditures. In the time we live in right now, to only have a 4.5% increase of our total expenditures is pretty good to maintain within those budget lines. When you look at the big picture, we had roughly anticipated to utilize roughly a little over $11 million in total balances made up of prior year expenses, reserve balances that we anticipated that you adopted in your budget. We actually only utilized $8 million, so we returned roughly $3 million of that anticipated balance back into your total reserves, which ended roughly around $7.9 million. So again, those reserves are made up of various different items, reserves, capital reserve, maintenance reserves, things that you use and you budget for to potentially use in futures as well. But again, so there was a decrease this year, but roughly ended around $7.9 million of total balances. We had one big difference this year. If anyone does, and the more hurt my feelings if we don't, goes into the reports in full detail. We had separated this year our internal service fund for our health insurance, for our self-insurance fund. So what you would notice this year is there was a lot more expenditures in your operating fund that were charged out, and what we'll just say were sent over to this internal service fund to pay for insurance claims. So presentation purposes will look different this year if you were to compare them from one year to the next, but just to point that out, you'll see we have the balances and accrued liabilities to pay for those insurance claims as they come due. The other thing I like to kind of touch on a little bit is the only operating enterprise fund that the district has, which is your food service fund. Roughly this year, the food service fund had a revenue of an income roughly of $100,000, which is obviously what we want to see. We want to see a positive income to our food service fund and not a decrease from the funding potentially of the board. The one thing to note that we do have in our smaller, what we call our auditor's management report, is a recommendation relating to what we call the net cash resource. There's a calculation that's required from the Department of Education and Agriculture that you're not allowed to have an excess funds on hand in excess of 3 months of your operating expenditures. Some I spoke to your business administrator about, and she already informed me that she has already proposed and you guys have already acted upon utilizing those funds, which we recommend to the districts to create a plan. That plan was already created and approved and in action, which is great to see. I like to point out on this, but I also want to make sure that the board is aware. I'll say the majority, if not all of the reason for this recommendation is related to the funding that the district had received the past previous years when COVID was taking place and the funds were coming in as all free students. So regardless of free, reduced, or paid lunch, the districts received significant funding that they were just supposed to spend right away. Which is very, believe it or not, difficult to do and has to have a plan. So again, that has slowly kind of crept up and is now going down through conversation with the business administrator. Again, the plan has been presented and I believe already being acted on.
That's just to jump in, just to refresh your board's memory, that funding is what we use to do the project here at North for the renovating the whole kitchen. So that's how we were able to expend those funds. We reinvested it into the program.
Yeah, so again, just wanted to point that out in case anyone noticed that. So it's a recommendation in the small report that gets attached. The bigger 200 and some odd page report, again, as I stated in the beginning, is clean, unmodified, no findings or recommendations to report on. But that's a recommendation that's required from the Department of Education because of the calculation that we have no say in. So it's very common. I would say about at least 50 to 60% of all districts in the state have this issue currently and are resolving it little by little. I can go on and talk a lot more information. However, I most likely will bore you and I don't want you to get on with your agenda. If there are any questions, we specifically can answer them. I'm certainly happy to answer them as we move forward. Again, I want to thank the board for your trust and having our firm present the audit and prepare this for you this year again. And also your business administrator and the team for the work that they do for the past few months to get this all wrapped up. So again, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them at this time.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Brian.
Have a great night.
Okay, we're going to move on to our committee reports. Mrs. Doherty for Finance and Facilities. We can wrap it up with one if you want. Do it in one if you like.
Finance, we met on December 9th, and the main topic was an update from our health insurance broker on some changes that they were proposing to our prescription plan to realize savings to start this year and going into next year. That is what's on the agenda for this evening, the changes to the contract. They are not changes in plan design, but there are changes to the formulary that we're using and also some other parameters and protocols for the prescription plan. They are projecting that there will be significant savings in increased rebates and discounts to the plan. So we have that on the agenda to vote tonight. And that would be effective April 1st, 2024. We also talked about an update on the sale of Fort Monmouth. We have been in touch with the county to see where they were at in the process. They had experienced a bit of a delay, but they are moving forward at this point. doing their due diligence, surveys, environmental, reports and so forth, and, still on target to finalize the sale, for this fiscal year. And that's the finance report. So I can roll right into facilities. Facilities met on the same day, December 9th, and that meeting was dedicated to a review of the school security report that we had done several months ago by Stonegate Associates. We wanted to bring them to the facilities committee to give them an update. The administration have received a presentation of the report and actually, have started using that report. So they reviewed the things that they found in the assessment. Overall, the representative said that we have a good security environment here. We've done a lot of proactive things. Of course, their job is to find things that we can improve on, which, they did find some things for us to work on. Mr. McGuire was at the meeting and said that they've already addressed several of the things that were in the report. But again, they gave us high marks for our security measures, but we're always looking to improve. So that was really the crux of our facilities meeting this month.
Thank you, Mrs. Doherty. Moving on to public comment. If anybody would like to make a public comment, please step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. On the agenda items only. Seeing no one stepping forward, we're going to move to our reports. Dr. Alphone with the superintendent report.
Great, thank you. The first thing I want to do is just take a moment to recognize Mrs. Farley. She is ending her term with the Board of Education at the end of December, and just want to thank her for her devotion to the Board of Ed and her work she's done during the course of her term, and just thank her for her service to the Middletown school community. I'd also like to congratulate our educators of the year, our educational services professionals of the year, and our support staff of the year. If you've been watching our Instagram and Twitter feeds from the buildings, there's been lots of recognition of staff members over the last couple of weeks. Buildings have been honoring these individuals, and our formal recognition of these staff members will be on April 23rd. At 6 p.m. at High School North. It will be a standalone program this year where we're just doing the honoring of our staff members in all three of those categories. It will not be attached to a board meeting. We moved to a different structure this year for both our student recognitions and our staff recognitions. So we're excited for that event in April. There will be a pre-kindergarten and kindergarten information session on January 29th at 7 p.m. This will be held virtually, just to make sure that we have the greatest number of people able to attend. And a link will be available on the district website as we get closer to the event. And this event is applicable to registrants for the 2025-26 school year. And it's always a very, very informative night for some of our newer parents to the district. Based on recent feedback from students and parents, we have decided to make some important changes to our midterm and final exam structures at the high school. The first change, which I think will be a really positive one, is that midterm and final exams will not be administered in all courses. These high stakes assessments, which comprise 20% of the year average, will now be reserved for all advanced placement, dual enrollment, world language, as well as selected core subjects. And we do have a list that we've published out. The rationale for this is offsetting the load of students having to prepare for upwards of 8 midterms and 8 finals, so that students can really concentrate their efforts on preparing for midterms and finals in those core subjects and higher level classes that are considered technically graduation requirements. The other change that we're making to this structure based on feedback from students and parents, again, is that 11th grade students who have earned an average of 90% or above can now be exempt from their final exam. And this was a privilege that we previously had only reserved for our 12th grade students, or those students in 9th through 12th grade who also were taking an advanced placement exam. The rationale here, and the feedback on this was very resounding, is that the junior year is the busiest year for our students in taking the SATs, college applications, the list goes on and on, applying for scholarships. So students that are already high performing, we felt it was important to recognize that through their average versus having them have to prepare for all of those other things and then take a final exam. Our 9th and 10th graders will still prepare for their traditional midterms and finals because there is certainly a skill in learning to prepare for an assessment of that breadth of information. So this was based on feedback from students in the student forums that I've been holding. Certainly, we've had our parent stakeholder groups, one of them focused on the college experience. And we've also had an assessment committee running, and all of this has kind of come together to create this plan, which we feel will really, really benefit our high school students moving forward without conceding some of the important pieces of why we still give midterm and final exams. Staying on the theme of high school students can begin to put in their requests for electives and world language courses beginning this Friday. And continuing through January 19th. Students will complete this process through the Genesis portal, and that's for current 9th through 11th graders. This actually is an extended time frame of 2 weeks. We've given the students more time, again, based on feedback from lots of different areas that I've already, referred to. This way that students can have the winter break to really look at the course selection guide, discuss some choices potentially with their families, and then still have time to come back in January and meet with their counselors if they do have questions or need any kind of clarification before the window for selecting those classes closes. Our incoming freshmen, our current 8th graders, they will start their registration after this window concludes for our current high schoolers. The reason being is they, first of all, have very limited things that they're actually going to be selecting. Because a lot of their courses are already subscribed for them based on the fact that they're freshmen. So they have core subjects. They do have to take the freshman seminar. So they really get limited choice on electives. We are going to be having the guidance counselors at the middle school working with them to educate them on that process, which will start towards the end of January. I just want to remind the school community that winter break will begin after Friday, which is a full day. School will resume on January 2nd when we return in the new year. And I just want to express my wishes to our entire school community for a wonderful holiday season with your loved ones. We look forward to seeing everybody back in the new year in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alpone. Moving on to our approval of meeting minutes, I need a motion to approve 9A and B.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstentions. Need a motion to approve number 10A through H, business office consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstentions. I need a roll call vote on 11A. Motion to approve.
Second.
Amy, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Minuis,
I'm voting yes on the unfounded and no on the founded.
Mrs. Skolasky,
Yes.
Mr. Tulp,
Yes.
Mrs. Wright,
Yes.
Mrs. Tobacco,
Yes.
Mr. Capone.
No. Need a motion to approve 11B through I.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstentions? Now moving to old business. Does anybody have old business to discuss? Do we have any new business to discuss?
Just to wish the community a happy holiday season. And our students too, enjoy your winter break.
Ryan, Megan, anything to say?
Yeah, one day. I know Paige touched on it a little bit before, said how we would be doing an elf raid on Thursday. I kind of just wanted to say what that was. The student government, basically, we're bringing in a bunch of candy canes and dressing up as elves. And then we're visiting the preschool classroom for the AM and PM session and giving them candy canes and dressing up as elves. So it's a good, we did it last year, it was a good time. for
Santa's
them, so-
coming too, I think.
Yes, Santa is coming, yeah.
Oh, right. Very good. It's good to hear. Megan, anything? You good? All right, we're now gonna open up for public comment. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Right, there's one announcement.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's what, just wanted to announce that there will be unified basketball and cheer. A couple of dates somewhere for now are January 31st at Neptune at 4 p.m. and February 10th at High School South. I encourage anybody who can to make it to a unified basketball game. They really are an awesome experience.
Thank you, Mr. Pelican.
Bureau of Safety, Eshire Drive, Middletown. First, I wanted to, for Mrs. Farley, to thank her. I enjoyed working with Kate as she was liaison to, MTFODL. Always appreciated her input and all of her efforts. So thank you, Kate. Also, touching on unified cheer, I wanted to give an update on that and thank everybody for putting this in place last year. This year, the interest was almost 60 students from both schools. Far surpassing last year. Once everybody saw the schedule, and it's a little, because you have to practice at different schools, the kids come from each school, they have around 35 kids committed, which I believe is double from last year. The kids have voted to rename it Middletown United Cheer. And they're going to be designing some clothes or, shirts for fundraising. They have started practicing already, which is much earlier than last year. They have quite a few games listed and they won't have a lot of practices in, but they're actually going to get to the north-south basketball games that are, I believe they're like the 3rd or 4th of January. So they'll be performing very early. So they not only do unified basketball, but they do basketball. And they wanted to start early with the north-south games. So thank you for everybody that, got it in place, and it's a great program.
Thank you, Vera. Would anyone else like to make public comment? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Francesca Labrino, and I am the mother of an incredible 3-year-old neurodivergent child within the Middletown Township School District. I am speaking to you this evening in an attempt to turn what I perceive to be a negative experience into a positive one. As one of the district's core beliefs is fostering partnerships with the greater Middletown community, as well as strong parent, student, educator relationships, I am coming to you all in that vein of partnership, and it's my hope and expectation that that partnership is reciprocated. As you all are aware, an ethical investigation was recently facilitated under Dr. Alphone's advisement, and I believe the outcome of the investigation arrived at the conclusion it did based on a lack of policies for teachers and support staff. While I believe the impact of this conflict of interest case does correlate to existing policies, such as Policy 2110, Philosophy of Education, Philosophy 2132, School District Goals and Objectives, Mission Community Partnership, and Policy 4138.3, 4238.3, Outside Activities. It seems based on my evaluation of the current policies for teachers and support staff that the social media policy 0169.02, which is extended to board members such as yourselves, is not extended to teachers and support staff. And it's because of this that I believe the ethical investigation arrived at the conclusion it did. If I am incorrect in my assumption, then I would like to set up a meeting in private to discuss that, as I originally tried to do, but I was referred to this public forum instead. For example, our neighboring district, Homedale, does include a policy around the use of social media sites, policy number 3282, for teaching staff members, with the inclusion of, while the board respects the right of staff members to use social networking sites, staff members should recognize that they are held to a higher standard than general public with regard to standards of conduct and ethics. It is important that a staff member's use of these sites does not damage the reputation of the school district, employees, pupils, or their families. As I stated to Dr. Alphone in an email on November 7th, the use of social and online media in this very unique situation has greatly blurred the boundaries the report identified, and the established boundaries in the consulting work minimize potential conflicts and adhere to district guidelines for avoiding conflicts of interest that the report identified no longer exist in this hyper-connected community we now live in. Our spaces and places of being are merged into one continuous identity that is accessible, recordable, and persistent. So I come to you all tonight in partnership, how we can work together to align the district's value of fostering partnerships within the community and make the necessary adjustments to policies that are reflective to the online and offline world that we live in. I also come to this request with a bit of unique background in this space. I received my master's degree in instructional technology and media from Teachers College, Columbia University, focusing on both designing online educational experiences and understanding how spaces and places of both learning and identity really don't conform to traditional ways of understanding so-called established boundaries. I have worked for over 20 years in the informal educational space, both as a designer and a learning facilitator. I have always loved the possibilities that education can bring to both the individual and the community. And it is because of this that I asked the board to recognize how outdated policies are working against maintaining the trust and integrity of community and parent partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wish to make a public comment?
I didn't know.
That's not. Would anyone else wish to make a public comment? Seeing no one else stepping forward, I'm just going to end up by saying a very happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, and we'll see you all in the new year with the blessed new year ahead for everyone. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye. Abstentions? Have a great new year, everyone.